He's 1,000% right, but I'm not sure that it matters. What I want to hear from prominent leaders on the left is vision, vision, vision. What vision do you have for the American people who have entrusted you as their power brokers? I get it. It's unfair. It's not right. There's a double standard. All of that is true. How are we going to get out of this? Vision, vision, vision. And I think if there's one thing that the left, or the Democrats more specifically, are failing at right now, it's not about diagnosing the problem. It's not about looking into the hole. It's about getting shovels to put the dirt back in and tell people how they're going to be able to sleep soundly on that turf. So while I agree with the former president, I agree with President Obama, I just want to hear the Democrats give us the diagnosis for how this is supposed to go.
But what is the vision? Like, I think that's what the problem is. I don't think there's an agreement on what the vision should be for the Democratic Party. I think some people think it should be over here to the left, and some people think the party needs to come back to the center.
That's how it's always been for both parties. I mean, the Republican Party has the same civil war, and it's going to get a lot tighter right now. We're still living in the Bernie fan, Hillary fan civil war. But for all the Democratic Party low poll numbers, their positions are consistently more popular than the Republican Party. Women's reproductive rights, paid family leave, taxing billionaires, Medicare covering vision, hearing, and dental, decriminalizing cannabis, gun safety legislation. On issue after issue, the majority of Americans agree with the Democratic Party platform. So shame on them if they can't sell it.
Why are Democrats at 21%, a historic
Well, again,
low
and Republicans aren't that higher either.
Because Van is right. Because Van, I think, pointed out very articulately that the Democratic Party doesn't have any vehicle, meaning a person, to convey their message in any fundamentally positive, uplifting, and hopeful way. Look, I didn't like President Obama. Not a fan, right? But he was an excellent conveyor of the message of the Democratic Party that people wanted to hear and saw it in 2007 and 2008. There is no one. And I mean, look, Cory Booker got so much credit for just giving a filibuster. He won an award for speaking the most, right? That is the low bar which the Democratic Party is standing right now.
But can I tell you something, though? That actually cut through. And the reason why it cut through, I was surprised that it cut through, too.
Because somebody was doing something.
It cut through because they saw somebody willing to put it on the line for them.
They want a fighter.
He stood up there and he didn't go to the bathroom for 25 hours. He made himself uncomfortable.
We are witnessing so many business leaders and people on the capitulation weasel train bowing down to a man they despise. People on my SiriusXM show call in every night hungry for someone to be a leader in the Democratic Party or in the movement. And I keep having to remember that this is not how it works. It's great that Barack Obama gave a speech. Jimmy Carter would have done 10 protests and a hunger strike by now. But at the end of the day, it's going to be the people who lead, and eventually a Democrat will sign a law and take credit for it.
I'll play a little bit more from Obama because he kind of touches on that. Listen.
Easy during most of our lifetimes to say you are progressive, or say you are for social justice, or say you're for free speech, and not have to pay a price for it. And now we're at one of those moments where, you know what, it's not enough just to say you're for something. You may actually have to do something and possibly sacrifice a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it's to your point, but I think it's a couple things for Obama and for the Democrats. One, there a lot of performativeness over the last few years probably needs to go by the wayside. But the other thing is that you listed a bunch of issues that are very popular, but Democrats also ignored the other things that are very important to Americans, like the cost of living and physical safety.
You think the Biden administration ignored the cost of living for working class people?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what the voters say.
The voters.
That's why the voters voted for Trump.
The stimulus, the student loans.
Here's what I would say.
Cap on insulin?
Here's what I would say is the argument that you could make about the Biden administration not understanding the catastrophic effect that inflation would have on the psyche of Americans was that A, they denied that inflation was an issue for a very long time, and B, rather than crafting an economic message, a lot of times they just didn't want to talk about it.
I think
that's an issue.
I think they denied that.
I think that they didn't. If they had an economic message, I think that would have broken through.
Well, I think that they denied that inflation was an issue specific to America.
Thank you.
meaning that inflation here was something very insidious that wasn't happening
and I get
post-COVID
that,
to the rest of the world.
As we were talking earlier in the show about these economic arguments that go over people's heads, they don't care what's going on in the rest of the world.
The
They
reality
want
is,
to know,
you know what? I'm
they
sorry
want to know how much food costs, why their housing is so expensive, and do they feel safe in their
Absolutely,
homes?
But the reality is that the U.S. has lower post-COVID inflation than all of our G7
I
allies,
get
and the
that.
Biden
But
White
that's
House
the-
wasn't
that's the
able to
attitude
sell that
that-
reality.